Hello, friends. Welcome to Akulmach Live. I'm your host, CK. Today, we are talking about a very important subject, and it's related to your business, and it's about building a likable brand and the likable personality. Because your personality will lead to your brand, whether it is your personal brand or your professional brand. But I must tell you that if you have a very strong personal brand, that will actually rub into your professional brand, and your value in the market will be equal to how you build your image. And therefore, likable brand personality is the mantra for all CEOs, all leaders. Because if you're not recognized as yourself, and if you're not respected as yourself, it will be very tough for you to build a brand which is sellable, right? So your brand will actually get into the professional brand, and therefore today we will discuss about how you can build a likable brand personality, and I will actually give you 5 tips. So without further ado, let's move on to our discussion today. And the first point that I would like to talk about is your brand has to be customer specific. For example, you can make a generic brand. You can say that this is what you are, and this is why people should recognize you as your first name and your last name, and whatever activity you are doing have a sort of a standard across the industry. So you could decide that, or you could say that, okay, you are also doing, say for example, playing polo or doing horse riding, or so the brand actually diversify a little bit. So you have a character of yourself. At the same time, you are very diversified. You have a variety of interest. You play polo, you also do horse riding, you also play cricket, so things like that. However, it is important for you to understand what kind of audience you want to attract, and whether the audience like what you're doing. Because if they like, if the majority of your clients, your prospects, your stakeholders, your investors, if the majority of at least 80 to 90% people like what you are, then no problem. Otherwise, say for example, if you go to disco but you work in the education industry, that branding itself will not match nicely, because you're always busy in nightlife, and you're now training the youngsters, and probably you're training some sort of value system. So there is a lot of mismatch between what you do in your day-to-day activity, and what your audiences are. So you need to understand the perspective of your audience. And if you are not doing that, then it will be very difficult to even start building a brand, because that's the industry that you're working in. Understand what kind of profile your audience have, and what kind of expectation your audience have, and then accordingly build your brand. It should not happen that your image or the perceived image is very diversified from what work you do. So you have to be very, very careful about this aspect. All right, let's move to the next point, and that is authenticity and transparency. uh, this is very, very important. Many people actually build brand, their own personal brand, that it look like that they can change the decisions just like that. In case anything that happens, they actually tend to change their decisions, and therefore this is something which is very critical, that you should always perceived to look like being very authentic, being follower of the law, being a policy driven individual. So if you make a policy in your own company, and if you do not follow that, your employees will turn around and say that, look, you have made this policy for us, but you are yourself are not following. I've seen this situation many times, because I've worked for many corporate jobs where there are certain rules and regulations which are pushed down on the entire team, but the leaders don't follow it because they're exempted from following those policies. So authenticity is very important. There are instances where there could be illegalities also, where top creme de la creme is exempted from those legalities, and they actually team up together to make money for themselves, rather than and at the same time the employees are suffering, and there are a whole lot of policies are imposed on employee, like zero tolerance regarding something. But when it comes to the leadership, it looks like that they're enjoying the benefit, and the zero tolerance does not apply to them. So things like that, you should, when you build your brand, you should always make a brand which is very authentic. When people perceive you as a human being, and they should also always perceive. And this personal likable brand cannot be built like in a year or so. It is your conduct which help you to build your likable brand. And if you flip flop between your conduct, then your brand will be not very strong. So make sure that your progression in your life, because how many years we got only 20 to 30 years of professional work life with us. So make sure that the graph is steadily going up, and then at some point in time you actually start converting your perceived image as your brand. So authenticity is absolutely important. You should look like very authentic person. Let's move to the next point. Consistency across all platforms. So your image on Facebook is different than your image on LinkedIn. Your image on WhatsApp is different, and then you live a parallel life. This is something which is going to harm you. So make sure that it is consistent. So wherever your prospects, your audience look at you, they find the same image. As I said in the beginning, that brand building is not a one day job. So make sure that you're aware of these things. Especially, I'm appealing to the young professionals who are Gen Z, people who are born after 2000 and before 2010. They are the youngsters today, and they are starting their career today in 2024. So make sure that whatever actions you take today will impact your brand or your character after 30 years, after 30 years of your age. So you have to be very consistent. I mean, you should not have different kinds of perceived image on different platforms, because then you're eroding your brand. Make sure that you talk about the same thing across all platforms. You see, the platforms are the medium for brand building today, medium for converting leads into business, medium for even building your brand. Therefore, it is important to use Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, uh, whatever social media platform, or even print media, or video, or a television media, radio. It should be consistent across all platforms. It should percolate the same message across all platforms. Very, very important. uh, because otherwise, if you don't maintain consistency, then your brand building efforts will get completely diluted. All right, let's move to the next point. Engage and interact. Always find a mechanism to engage with your audiences. Sometimes you run a poll, for example. You invite audience poll, for example. You invite their feedback, um, or you want to actually do some sort of a giveaway. So plan that way, so that there are some question answers, and people actually feel very proud about winning something from your company or from your team. Conduct team building exercises within your team. So there is a lot of interaction required. You as a leader, you will obviously have a team below you, and therefore you have to earn the respect of your team. But how do you know that they respect you? You need to have communication with them. Similarly, if your customers are there, and you can be a CEO of a company, and your teams are working with a customer, and how do you know your customer like your company, or you as a brand image, likable brand image? So obviously you need to do your own interaction with the client. You can't leave that customer interaction to your sales and marketing guys, you have to find some mechanism to directly reach out to the customers yourself. Now those mechanisms could be linkedin could be a very good area where you can actually directly reach out to your customers. Now why I'm saying linkedin, because you have your professional profile on linkedin, and you use this to build your professional image already. I think the world is already on linkedin and they are using it. So using linkedin, there are so many different applications available on linkedin which you can use to interact with variety of audiences. So interaction is important, and the feedback received from the directly from the horse's mouth is important for you to shape up your likable brand personality. So something which is very very important. Let's move to the next point, and that is about the emotional connection. You see, if you keep talking about your work all the time, then you know for example, you're coming out with some sort of video and you talk about your work, your product, your services. Then next week again you talk about your work, your product, your services. Third week again do the same thing, and then you keep on doing the same thing. There is a limit to what you can do continuously on that front. So you have to find some variety, and the way to do it is basically if you demonstrate empathy about, say, public affairs, or some sort of charitable activities, then that will sort of also bring an emotional angle to how your brand perceives you. For example, if you're doing some sort of philanthropy, so you talk about it, you communicate with your clients that, look, I'm actually raising funds for this and this activity. And so in addition to providing marketing or some sort of services or product to the client, you are also doing philanthropy. So you are not a self-centered human being. You are a vibrant person living in a society, contributing to the society, right? So the emotional connection is absolutely important when it comes to building the likable brand personality. So I think we've come out with all the important points that I wanted to convey to you today. So if you follow these five mechanisms, especially the youngsters who started their career, if you follow these five steps, be conscious about these five steps, then after 5 to 6 years you will have a likable brand personality. Then automatically, whatever work you do, whether you are working in a senior position in a company or you running your own enterprise, people will actually respect you for what you are. And you know they will interact with you, they will actually join your ecosystem, they will actually fund you. So a whole lot of possibilities may emerge if your personal brand is a likable brand or likable brand personality. That will help you. Make sure that you follow these five guidelines. Just in case if you have more clarification, do not hesitate to write back, and I will actually talk to you and sort you out. So friends, thanks for watching, and I will catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.